Welcome back to my channel everyone, where today I'll take you through one method I have for painting faces. So over a cow's black undercoat, I'm just going to base coat down, so this is just an approximately even mix of BUGMAN'S Glow and DAWNSTONE. Now the reason I did this is, you'll find with a lot of flesh tones, they are quite warm. So just to sort of neutralize the tone of the flesh a little bit, I decided just to test out adding a little bit of DAWNSTONE and to see, how it turned out. Another thing that's really important in my opinion when base coating down flesh tones is to make sure that you do quite a few really thin coats, and just to make sure you move the paint around quite quickly just to get a nice even mix. So once again, just to neutralize the warmth of the GUILLIMAN Flesh contrast paint, I decided to add some GRYPH-CHARGER grey and also just some water as well, and just a small amount of contrast medium. And once again, just neutralizing that flesh tone a little bit with some more DAWNSTONE, I'm now going to move on to CADIAN flesh tone and DAWNSTONE. It doesn't have to be exactly an even mix of 1-1, but just mix it in just enough until you notice that it has been toned down just a little bit. Just to mention as well, for the entire tutorial, I will be using my Raphael 8404 size 1 brush, I should say. I'm so used to using my 3.0 brush that I'm of course used to saying it, but yeah, no, this is definitely my size 1 brush. It wasn't until fairly recently, I think I mentioned in my last tutorial, I've been watching a lot of Flame On miniatures, and he actually uses the size 2 Winsor & Newton Series 7 for, to my knowledge at least from what I've read, all of his painting. And I have to say, since I've made the switch over, I've noticed quite a bit of improvement. So I really do recommend looking into, I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be the Winsor & Newton range or even Raphael, just whatever brush that you find works best for you. But yeah, the reason I overall recommend the Raphael range is that they really are very high quality and they do last quite a long time. But anyway, as you can see, just picking out the most raised areas, you'll also notice that the shade that I used over the flesh was quite subtle. Again, that was really just adding in an appropriate amount of contrast medium and some water as well. But just get the mix to a point in which you're happy with, and always make sure that you just move that paint around quite a bit, just to get a nice even application. And as always as well, if you need to remove any excess, just quickly wash out your brush, or even just, grab another brush quickly and just lightly press it against any areas in which the shade is pulled, and you can just remove any excess that way. And of course, worst case scenario, if you need to apply a little bit more shade, or if you want to darken the flesh tone even more, you can always just let it dry a little bit and then just apply another coat. As is pretty typical as well of painting flesh, it can look a little bit messy as you're gradually working up these highlights, but just be sure to just be patient with it and just gradually layer up the highlights. Another thing to mention as well when painting flesh like this with really thin down coats, you'll notice the paint does dry fairly quickly as well, because it is such a thin layer. So you can just move back to that and, essentially once you've painted one area, moved on to the next area, and then of course the other areas around the details of all the flesh, by the time you get back to where you started, it should be dry by that point. So next up, to begin stippling in some of the hair regrowth, I'm just going to use some DAWNSTONE. Now, of course, because I've been using DAWNSTONE to blend in the flesh tones, you'll find that the transition of this is very natural. And if you're unsure on placement for hairlines at all, just have a little bit of a look online, and yeah, you'll be able to figure out pretty quickly how best to place this, and to sort of help it, naturally transition between where the hair regrowth would be and where it wouldn't be. So as you can see, really quite subtle around the hairline, and then just making it slightly more intense elsewhere. Now, of course, for this particular model, Arjak Rockfist, or really any Terminator, it's, you can't really see the back of the head once you glue this in, if you are painting the head separately to the model. But in my opinion, it's really worth getting this little extra practice in, because there are, of course, plenty of miniatures where the entire head is exposed and you can see all the detail on it. And it's just some really nice finishing touches to add to a miniature. But of course, if you want to skip over this step, you can really just follow along with all of the, more basic sort of flesh tone highlights. So as you can see, I've already filled out the eyebrows and the beard as well, just with some black. It was just Vallejo model color black, but any black will do just fine. Of course, it does look a little bit weird at this point, but don't worry, we'll get a little bit later on in the tutorial to highlighting up all of the eyebrows, I should say, and the beard as well. But next up, just using, again, an approximate mix of even mix, I should say, of KISLEV Flesh and ADMINISTRATUM Grey this time. Again, just keeping with neutralizing the flesh tone a little bit. And really just focusing on bringing out some more detail on the most raised areas. And this is really quite thinned down as well. As you can see, I have barely anything on my brush. And just really gradually working up those highlights. Just to mention as well, I really often try to not cut out too much from my tutorials, as in my opinion it effectively defeats the purpose of, sort of teaching how I go about things. Obviously under some circumstances of some tutorials, you can cut out things a little bit more. But for things like painting faces, I think it's really important to leave in as much of the detail as I can, and really help you sort of gauge as to how I go about painting details such as this. Admittedly, it is a little bit nerve-wracking still doing tutorials on details like this. Painting faces are notoriously hard for miniatures. I mean, for a lot of people who aren't involved in the hobby, they may not really understand how small the details actually are. But again, as I often say, this is just one of those things where it's really, in my opinion, important to really take the time and just put the practice in, because painting things like this, it really truly will improve your painting skills. But of course as well, don't be disheartened if you don't get it exactly how you want to the first time, or even the second or the 20th time. It really does take a long time. Like, I even, for example, look back at my Lumineth Realm Lords that I painted a few years ago, I think it was, and I look at the face details back then compared to how I paint faces now, and I'm really, really proud of the improvement. So if you stay the course and just keep putting in the work, you definitely will see improvements. But anyway, as you can see, just continuing along around the hairline and just really carefully stippling in a light transition between the grey hair regrowth and just the skin tone on the forehead as well. So next up, just to add some highlights to the hair regrowth, I'm now going to use a small amount of Administratum Grey. Once again, not overloading the brush at all. This is very watered down, as you can see, just using the very tip of my brush and just angling it downwards. Just get yourself in a really comfortable position and just be quite patient with this step. And try not to overlap the entirety of the Dawnstone as well. You know, if you look at natural hair regrowth, you'll find that there are slightly different shades of color in it. It's not always necessarily just one flat color across. But yeah, as you can see, when it slightly dries a little bit, you'll notice it does tone down quite a bit. But again, that's just because I've got it really watered down just to maximize control and to make it look as subtle as possible. Or as natural as possible, I should say. So next up, just to begin shading in around the eyes, I decided to use some Night Lord's blue. Again, fairly watered down and just creating some shadows around the eyes. So for the mouth and the tongue, I decided to keep it quite simple by using VOLUPUS pink contrast paint and some water. This is quite watered down. A 1-1 mix will do just fine though. And of course, we've already painted in the flesh tones around the lips and everything. So this is just to add you know, that more natural sort of mouth look to the mouth. And next up, I'm just going to paint in the eye area using some ULTHUAN grey. Now, I'm not sure how other people go with ULTHUAN grey. It's such a great colour to use. However, it can be a little bit tricky to water down correctly. It can be, you know, a little bit difficult to work with. So if you're unsure, go for approximately an even mix of ULTHUAN grey and some water. And if you want to help add a little bit more control, you can always add a little bit of medium as well. If you use Citadel, Lamian medium, that would work great as well. But the important thing, more than anything, is to make sure that it is thinned down enough and then it doesn't apply on, you know, clumpy at all. As the thing is with eyes, especially, you know, it's probably one of the harder things to correct. There have been more than one occasion where I've used a hobby tool to sort of carefully scrape away the paint because I was really unhappy with how the eye looked. But again, back to what I mentioned earlier, once you get the practice in, you've been doing it for long enough, you'll find that painting details such as this, with the right tools of course, just a really decent brush, it becomes a lot more easy. It becomes a lot easier over time. But anyway, just going back to Night Lord's blue now, I'm just carefully painting in the eye itself and essentially starting at the top. And then just meeting at the bottom as well. And of course, because we've already painted in the Night Lord's blue prior to applying the ULTHUAN grey, the transition will look really quite natural as well. But yeah, just ensure that you have the Night Lord's blue watered down enough. Certainly not obviously too much. You don't want it to be running into the recesses where you've painted the ULTHUAN grey. But just enough to maximize control, make it look natural, and you know, really quite subtle as well. And next up, I'm just going back to ULTHUAN grey just to paint in the teeth. I mean, if you want to use white, you can certainly use white, but yeah, I was happy just to use ULTHUAN grey just to finish these little details off. As you can see as well, so I'm really happy with how the eye on the left was looking, but the eye on the right, it didn't really look finished enough. So I've just gone back to Night Lord's Blue, and I'm just going to add in a touch more, because it was sort of looking like, for lack of a better description, sort of like a snake eye. And now just moving on to the finishing touches, I decided to, so I'll be blending this across for all of the details on the beard and the eyebrows. So I decided to use some Corvus black. This is a really wonderful color, really good for base coating over black, and it's a really nice sort of smoky gray color. One that's quite similar to it, but it is a little bit different. It doesn't have as much of a sort of blue hue to it, is German Grey by Vallejo Model Color. That's certainly a favorite of mine as well. If you do prefer using Vallejo paints over Citadel, I'd recommend grabbing a bottle of that. But as I mentioned earlier, still just using the same brush, so the Raphael 8404 size 1 brush. And now just moving on to approximately an even mix of Corvus Black and Dawnstone. Now you could very well just use, if you own Eshin Grey, you could definitely just use some Eshin Grey and begin blending that. However, it doesn't really matter so much because we do have those colours all ready to go, all blended. And when you are wet blending, you really can, to a certain extent, you could almost just even, for example, put down 2 colours and then create a pool on one end and then on the other, and then create 2 shades between those 2 colours as one example. By the way, guys, sorry for the shaky cam there. I must have accidentally knocked my camera whilst filming, so apologies for that. I actually bought a more stable claw arm recently. It is a little bit more fiddly than my older one though, but yeah, overall it's certainly a lot more stable. But yeah, every now and then I do get a little bit caught in the moment when painting, and yeah, occasionally might accidentally knock it a little bit. So, but anyway, just continuing to blend in those colors. Now, as you can see, I'm also getting fairly close between, so where the beard growth is between that and the flesh. Obviously, certainly don't want to overlap any of the flesh colors, but also just creating a sort of a natural transition between the hair and the skin. So next up, I'm just going to use some Dawnstone, and again, just to mention as well, these paints are all really quite watered down, just to help give that natural blended sort of look. Now, just while it's on my mind as well, if there are three things that I would recommend any miniature painter have, so first would be, of course, at least one really high quality brush. Yes, they are expensive, but they make such a huge difference. And secondly, to look after that brush, pick up a tub of the Master's brush cleaner, and really try to use it between not just every session, but even just have it sitting next to your paint palette, and yeah, try to use that perhaps not between every color, but for example, once I finish blending all these colors, I would wash out the paint, and then while the brush is still wet, just in a circular motion, run it through the Master's brush cleaner. Because yeah, it's really going to keep your brushes alive for a lot longer. And then lastly, of course, just a decent wet palette. So I use the Red Grass V2 palette, and it's just awesome. So those three things I really would recommend. And of course, just finishing off with the Administratum Grey, just to finish highlighting the beard, and of course the eyebrows as well. And with that, Arjak Rockfist is finished. So I hope you found this tutorial useful today, guys. I had a great time filming this one. Plenty more to come in the near future. As always, if you're in Australia or the UK and you would like to support the channel, if you're intending on buying any of your hobby needs, if you use the links provided below, it does support me. So again, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you again in the next one.